Okay, so welcome back to another one of this series. I believe we are on the part 5, and in this one we need to talk about the modulation and effects. Because we know that with this synth, the modulation, it's pretty limited. We cannot do a lot, we can do something that's, it's very useful, but we cannot do, we cannot go crazy. So that's why you get the advanced section. You get the modulation and the effects control right here. So first I'm going to go to the effects because it's very simple to understand and we can get it right, out of the way. Very simple. I'm going to deactivate the chorus and I'm going to deactivate. Oh, and of course, remember I'm starting with the empty template and I'm going to go to modulation. And for now, I'm going to just turn it off. I'm going to go to the effects and first we're going to talk about the vocal filter. Now, I believe that not in a long time, Arturia will do an update on this plugin and they will give you a lot more effects right here. I guess, they're just not planning with. I believe in the future they will do so because maybe just 3 effects, it's not a lot. So, okay, so on the vocal filter, this is pretty simple. Every time we hit a key, this one will go and find a different frequency on the spectrum and will boost that frequency. So it will sound like it's boosting any of this, which is A, E, O, U. So if I enable this, and to do so, we need to do a dry and wet and press a key and just keep pressing. Notice that every time it goes to a vocal, it's just boosting that frequency. So it sounds like, we get an A, E, O, U. Now, of course, the Q will make it much more pronounced or less pronounced. Now, you can go right here and drag it to the center, and this is what it will do. It will decrease the intensity of the effect, and as soon as you go up, and you make it super big, the effect will be just massive. Now then, of course, you can disable this, because right now it's using an LFO, and it's super slow. Now, if you go higher, it's gonna go faster. So that's it. This is what it does. It's pretty dumb, but this is what it does. It's a vocal filter. Now, of course, if you want to, you can disable the LFO, and maybe you can put this on the vocal you like. Now it's O, I, then E, then A, and then U, or U. And you can do this manually. You can even control it with the controller, on the DAW, with the automation, you can totally do it. But this is what it does. I know it looks, challenging or weird, but it's just super dumb. Then I'm going to go right here and I'm going to go to the chorus. And what can I say? This is just a chorus. I'm going to play something. We get pretty much nothing. Let me do the unison so we can get, just a bigger sound. And do a little bit of detune now that we know how this works. And now the chorus is just a chorus. It's just to enable. And on the 1 position, you just need to go and provide some wet. And you are going to get a stereo enhancement. Just a chorus. Now, of course, you can go crazy by increasing the depth. And you're going to get this vibrato style sound. And the rate is going to make it more pronounced. So now we get pitch. We get a pitch. Now the second one, it's more, but we get different stages. So notice that we have like 2 different stages. And the third one is just 3 different stages. We get more craziness. And if I go all the way, all the way 100%, it's just going nuts. Now, of course, at the end of the day, this is just a chorus and it's completely up to you how you want to use it. Maybe just a little bit of this. It's just enough, right? All right, so then you get the delay. And again, this is just the same dumb delay. All right, it's just a dumb delay. You get to move the time in the left, time in the right. So you can desynchronize the right speaker from the left speaker. You can control the left, the feedback at the left, and the feedback at the right. And you just can... Now the mid sync is so you can of course sync this to the DAW, to the the tempo of the DAW. You notice that you can get and synchronize with the tempo of the DAW, but you can disable this and just go manually by using milliseconds. Right? So super simple. It's just a delay. I feel like I don't need to do a lot of explaining right here. So where I'm going to need to do some explaining is going to be here. And I'm going to make this one, no, for now I'm going to leave it like this because I need, to make this a little bit smaller so I can show you some of the things that we need right here. So this is this is the modulation matrix. Now, first of all, we just need to turn it on. And by default, whenever you use a setting or a preset, this will do something. Now, first, I want to start right from the scratch. I'm going to go and set everything that we get by default to off. I don't want it right here. I want to start from the scratch. Right. So by double clicking, you're going to go and stand on 50%. And why? This is the default value and not this one. And it's because you can go in negative amounts or positive amounts. So if you're at 0, which is mean noon, it means that you're not doing anything. You're just not applying any effect, any modulation. So if you go to negative amounts, you're going into negative. And if you go to positive, you're going to positive. So it's like -1 and 1 and 0, it's off. Okay, so let me just show you how this works. Right now, if I play something, I'm not doing anything with the cutoff frequency. So what I want to do, I want to modulate the cutoff frequency. I want to do something like that. But I want to do it with the modulation wheel that it's right here at the bottom. So, okay, so how can we make this work? So first, you will need to select the source. What is going to be modulating what? So in this case, we want the modulation wheel, so I'm going to go and select the modulation wheel. It's pretty simple. Now, this looks challenging, but it's really simple. And then we need to choose the destination. So the mod wheel is going to modulate what? So in this case, we want to do the cutoff frequency. So I'm going to go and you have a lot of options, okay? So first I'm going to go and find the cutoff frequency. There we go, cutoff. So now it means that the mod wheel, every time that we move it, is going to move the cutoff frequency. And for now, I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller. Let me just go here so I can fit it a little bit better and show you the modulation wheel that I'm moving right here at the bottom. So if I play something, nothing happens. And if I move the modulation wheel, nothing happens. And it's because we need to decide how much of this we are going to do. So if you go all the way to 1, it's pretty much on and you're doing 100% pretty much. So when I play something and I move the modulation wheel, this is moving the cutoff frequency by the amount you're providing here, which is pretty much all. Now, of course, you can go in betweens. And of course, the effect will be much, smoother, or, you're not going to get the full effect. It's just moving just a little bit. And then you get the opposite. What happens if I go into negatives? If I move this, notice if I go all the way down, it's brighter. And let me just show you maybe here. I'm going to go there and it's brighter. But as I move up, it's darker. So now the cutoff frequency is not moving on a positive way. It's moving on a negative way. Because we are saying, dude, go negative instead of positive. So this, these values are bipolar. That's the technical name. So that's it. That's, the whole magic about this one. It looks challenging, but it's just really not. Let me just go back to something bigger. So right now we are just going to say that I want to move the cutoff frequency when I move the mod wheel. Now, what is good about this is that you can, of course, select the same modulation, the same source, and move some other things. So let's say I want to do the emphasis. So I'm going to go and put the cutoff frequency right here and the emphasis right there. So I'm going to go to the mod wheel, no modulation wheel, and as soon as I move up, we are doing both, including the emphasis. In this case, not. I'm going to go and enable it. And there we go. We can hear now. Right. So you can modulate with the same thing as many things as you wish. And you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different types of modulations that you can run at the same time. Now, of course, you can, of course, modulate different things or use different sources to modulate different things. For example, I'm going to just show you a couple. So I'm going to go to the BCF and BCM. So if you think about this, what this is, all right? What is this? BCF? So this is voltage control filter and then voltage control amplifier. And then it says envelope. And if you think about this, we only have 2 envelopes on this synth. The filter envelope and the loudness control. So this is the BCF, voltage controlled filter, and the other one is the BCA, voltage control amplifier, because it amplifies the volume and everything else. So that's why we get it. So what we can do, if we are not using the attack, decay, and sustain to modulate the cutoff frequency, because we are doing with the mod wheel, I'm going to go turn all this off. So, we are not going to use this, but I'm going to go and say that the BCF, the voltage control filter, is going to modulate some other property. So we get a bunch. Now, notice it says BCO, BCO, BCO. So BCO means the oscillator. This is oscillator 1, then oscillator 2, and then oscillator 3. And then you get some, some keywords right here. So FM, it's frequency. And this means the pitch of the oscillator. Then PWM is the width that we get right here, remember? Then when we right click and drag, we can, make it wider or, less wide. Well, that's the PWM. And then you get the AM. So what is AM? Is the amplitude. So it's the volume. It's just the volume. And I know that sometimes, you read the keywords and you say, what the F is this? But that's what it is. And then you say BCO 12. What do we have 12? We have 12 oscillators? I didn't know this. No, it's the 1 and the 2. So you can control the frequency modulation of the oscillator 1 and 2. And then you can do 1, 2, 3 at the same time. So that's what it means. So now the VCF, which is the envelope, what I want to do, I want to go to the BCO1, and I just want to mess with the pitch, right? So it's going to start somewhere, it's going to go some time, and then it go down, and the sustain is going to be all the way down. This is what I'm doing. So I'm going to play something, make it, let me just do it like that. And I'm going to go to the BCM, and this one, I'm going to go and enable this one. And notice that the pitch is going crazy. So now this one is providing an instruction, an envelope of how the pitch of the oscillator number 1 should move. So every time I press a key, it's just giving me that, weird sound. And of course, maybe it doesn't sound any good, but you get it. So another thing you can do, and let me just go this to 50%, because if not, it just sounds a bit weird. And I'm gonna go and maybe disable a little bit of this, so we can get something that sounds a little bit better. Okay, so I'm gonna go, and you can do an LFO. And maybe you're thinking, okay, so you're talking about this LFO. No, you get a different LFO. I'm gonna go and select LFO. So when we select this LFO that says LFO, he's talking about this LFO. If you go to LFO in ARP, right here you get an LFO generator. So this one is an LFO, and it's going to just run the whole time. And you can, of course, sync to the DAW tempo, and you can alter the rate or select a different waveform. So if I go back to the modulation and press a key, the LFO is the source of the modulation of what? So I'm going to go and enable the oscillator number 2. And I'm going to provide a little bit of width, so we can get something better, and I'm going to go and maybe do that. All right, just to get maybe something a little bit better. Okay, so now the LFO is going to modulate the BCO and let's say the FM, so we can really hear that movement. So if I turn off the number 1, we can hear that the LFO is modulating the frequency of the oscillator number 2. And if I go right there and make it faster, or I can make it slower, or just change the waveform. Right. So now, there's no mystery to this. You just select the source, whatever it is that you want to grab as a modulator. You can go to positive or you can go to negatives. In the case of the LFO, if this goes up, we should take a look at the shape. It goes up and then down. It means that if you go negative, it's going to go down and then up pretty much. So on the modulation, of course, you can select whatever you want as modulation, even the pitch bend, you can assign to the pitch bend. Or maybe, you can use the VCO3. Let's just do that one. It's just going to be fun. So remember, we can use the BCO3, the third oscillator, to modulate the pitch or modulate the cutoff frequency. Remember we did that, a few videos ago. So we can still select that BCO3, and this time, since this one is using the BCO3, we don't need to enable the modulation, right? This one is going to use it as a source. So if I go and maybe modulate the pitch of the number 2 so we can really hear, what it does. I'm going to play something. We get nothing. But if I move up, notice it's going crazy. And it's because we are using this as a normal oscillator, not as an LFO source. As soon as we go low, it goes into LFO territory. If I turn it off, all right, so, that's cool. Let me go to a different pitch. So right now we are just playing the number 2, and notice it's going crazy. That's the normal sound, right? And I'm doing a little bit of filter because if I go like this, it's going to be very annoying for our ears. All right? Now we get some movement, of course. And if I go more, we can really hear the pitch. Right? So you can go really crazy with this. If I do all this all at the same time, I don't even know what's going to happen. Let's just go crazy. Maybe a little bit of effects just to make it a little bit better. So yeah, you can go crazy with this one. Of course, right now I'm going into extremes. Sometimes you just needed to add a little bit of modulation to the oscillator too. Maybe move, the fine control just a little bit. Maybe move the width control. You always use it in very small amounts, unless you, of course, want to create kind of a sound effect. And if that's the case, you are going to do something weird like we are doing right now. Now, of course, when we are done explaining, learning all the tools that we get with this synthesizer, we are going to build some sounds. We're going to go to the DAW and just build some presets, so we can get some practicing going on. All right, so this is done. Now we're going to go to the next video on this series. Again, I upload one every day. And on the next one, we need to talk about the next 2 options, which is the motion recorder and the LFO and the ARP. All right? So yeah, we need to talk about this.